Ancestors surround us, rise in hope, in prayer.
Hi everyone, good morning. Shana Tova. We're going to start at 11:30, so we have a few minutes. I wanted to see if you want to open up the chat, which is at the bottom of your screen, and it should open to the right, and just pop in there where you are zooming in from. And also on the top right, you can toggle between speaker view and gallery view. And it's really nice to see all of us gathered here together from all over Oklahoma, Minnesota, Portland, Oregon. Oh, Joanne, how's it going in Portland, Oregon? How's the air? Hey, Josh, that's great. You can just keep it low in the background because I'm going to keep talking. Corey, Steve, and Michael, so nice to see you. So West Virginia, Virginia Woods, Connecticut. Good. Oh, I'm glad to hear that Portland has clean air. Let's hope it stays that way. Yeah. And also would be really awesome if you would be willing to turn your video on so we could see everybody. So Nate, Seattle, Massachusetts, Montebello, Chicago.
Ancestors surround us, rise in hope, in prayer. We find ourselves here in hope, in prayer. We're right here in hope, in prayer. We find ourselves here in hope, in prayer. We're right here and we rise up from the wreckage, rise with tears and with courage, rise fighting for life. We rise in hope, in prayer. We find ourselves here in hope, in prayer. We're right here in hope, in prayer. We find ourselves here in hope, in prayer. We're right here and we rise, humbly hearted, rise, won't be divided, rise, with spirit to
Welcome
guide
everyone.
us.
You arrive as you come into the room. You can play the music softly in the background. The music is called We Rise by Batya Levine, who is amazing.
Won't be
And
divided,
it seemed just so appropriate for this moment. If you can open up your chat at the bottom of the screen, you can please write where you're zooming in from. It's nice to see where everyone is. And also, if you're willing to, turn your screen on. So you hover over your face on your little box, in your Hollywood Squares box, and turn your video on. Or at the bottom of the screen, you can write start video. You can do start video. So Laguna Beach, Passaic, and Nancy, so happy to see you.
All of the children
Chicago, Palm Desert, Florida.
elders with wisdom rise, ancestors surround us rise.
So also in the upper right-hand corner, can you hear me? In the upper right, good, great. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see you can toggle between speaker view and gallery view. Marilyn, you can't? In the upper right, someone tell me if you can do it. Hi, Carrie Kozlov from Grew Up With. Patrick, can you see the speaker view and gallery view? Good. Okay, Patrick. Okay, good. Thank you. Oh, there's two Patricks. Gail and Paul from Buffalo Grove. Gail babysat us, maybe just me, when I was, I don't know, I was under four, I was four. Amazing. Gail remembers my mom as a young woman. So Maggie, so nice to see you from Albuquerque. Where are you, Maggie? My Twitter friend. There you are, so great, great.
Humbly hearted
And
rise, won't be divided, rise, with spirit to guide us, rise.
thanks, Josh. Debbie, another Twitter follower. Twitter! I love Twitter. And look at, you're all here in real life. If you could, welcome everyone. Shana Tova. Happy New Year to everyone. How many of you were here with us last night? Raise your hand. A lot. And then some people are here new. So welcome everyone, wherever you are, whoever you are. So happy that you are here. I'm Rabbi Jill Zimmerman, and I am leading today with and throughout the High Holy Days with my wonderful Cantorial soloist chair, Lieberstein. Wave, there she is. You're going to hear from her often today. And also, we have a team of people that are helping because over 400 people signed up, registered to be part of these high holiday experiences, even though, or maybe especially, because they're not traditional services. So I'm just so happy that you're here. One of the things that I'm going to be sharing my screen for a bunch of the time. But before I do that, I want you to go up to the upper right-hand part of your screen where it says gallery. You can do speaker view where you can just see me, but I want you to do gallery view. And then in the right-hand side, you can see that there's three, at least this point, there's three screens of people. If you're on the phone or if you're on a computer and you've hidden your face, it would be lovely to see your face. And just as a way of settling in to this unique moment, this is a moment that I don't know how many of you have ever streamed your High Holy Day experiences like this, but this is where we are. I really don't know of many synagogues or any Jewish communities that are meeting live. So welcome to 2020. And it is not the same exact as in person, for sure, but also there is something amazing to me that we could gather people together in a room like this that we would not be able to do if we were all live, right? So I, think that in this moment we know that it's not the same, but also there are some things that are totally special about this moment, like being able to see all of you. So we're going to, in a couple minutes, do a blessing of each other's faces, which is why I am asking if you would put your video on and scroll through the faces so you can, and understand when you do that, understand and know that every single person is a story. Every single one of us has their own Torah, their own life story, and your stories are sacred. So as you scroll through, just know that you are gathered here with other people coming from all over the world, actually. If any of you, I had put in the welcome in the email when you registered, there are ways of to kind of, how many of you have been on Zoom for months, right? Okay, so the idea is that this is Rosh Hashanah, this is the beginning of the new year, and how do we, there's been a lot of thought about how do we make this experience sacred, different, set apart. It's also Shabbat, a day that is set apart. And so I put in the email a couple of colleagues' suggestions for how to make your space sacred. And if you have done something, like if you have something near you that makes your space special and different for right now, if you can hold it up, that would be great. I'm going to tell you that, I know you can't really see it, but as many of you know, oh, look at Marilyn has flowers, nice. Oh, and Rachel has something, and KLB. Oh, you have drawn a Shiviti, beautiful. But KLB, I don't know your real name. So if you could put it in, that would be great. And Maggie, you have something. You know what? If you, oh, great. And Tare has a rock. Oh, and Shelly, wonderful. So, oh, and then this is so great. Jane has beautiful yellow flowers, maybe sunflowers looks like. Great. Or maybe write in the chat what you have brought to make this moment different and sacred. Oh, Bethany has something, and Iris. I'm seeing, I can't see all. Sabrina, wonderful. Oh, Stephanie has a beautiful crystal. Karen has a picture. Bethany has a picture. So I brought a couple things. Number one, I see Joy has something. As some of you know, my beloved mother died a couple weeks ago. And so I have, first of all, earrings that she gave me. Can you see them? This is so her, okay? This is my mom's earrings. And also this plant. Can you see the plant? Can you see it? It's right next to me. My husband, Eli, brought it over. My mom, this was my great grandma Pauline's plant. So my mom's grandmother, and my mom nurtured it for, I don't know how many years that is, but it's a really long time. And my mom kept it alive and gave me, this is cutting from that same plant. And now both of our boys have cuttings from the plant, and which is just fantastic. So having things around that remind us this space is different, this space is sacred. And I love, you can Yeah, and Benny has a cutting from that plant, our son, and so does Josh. So I love what people are writing in the chat. I'm not able to read them all. We're gonna start. I'm gonna start sharing the screen. Let me just tell you, when I share my screen, this is why I wanted you to see everyone's faces right now, because when I share my screen, what I learned, here's a downside of the technology, you won't be able to see everyone's faces again. So I'll periodically stop sharing my screen. And also when you can play with it, that in the right-hand side or above, however you have your computer set up, you can see different faces and you can scroll through them. So I hope that will be good for you. I know it can be frustrating if you don't see people's faces. So we're gonna start out with, can you see Rosh Hashanah? Yes? Okay, great. We're gonna start out with a song that many of you may know, that is Return Again, because the central theme of these holy days is about returning, turning back to who we are, to Shuvah, turning back to our community, turning back to God, turning back toward our best selves. It's the gesture of the holy days, and it's the work that we do. And so Tara is going to sing Return Again.
Forgot to unmute, sorry. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul.
As you know, everyone is muted just because there's so many people, and it's difficult when Zoom does not allow a lot of people to be singing together. So I hope, though, that you are singing and participating in your own space. So as I said before, we are all together here, diverse people from all different backgrounds. And we now are going to bless the space that we are in. Can you see bless the Zoom room? Okay, great. Okay, we're going to bless this space like we have talked about and say what Jacob said when he had a dream. Our ancestor Jacob had a dream and then woke, and the angels going up and down, and woke up and said, Ma Nora Hamakom Hazeh. How awesome is this place? And I did not know it. And basically what Jacob was saying is that I thought this was an ordinary place, but it was not. It was a holy place. And he says, Ma Nora Hamakom Hazeh. And I have to tell you that on my talit, that is what I have up on my talit, Ma Nora Hamakom Hazeh. In, let me see, okay, Josh was showing everyone. Can you see Ma Nora Hamakom Hazeh? And the reason I put that on my talit is because I wanted to remind myself that in every place I'm in, it is possible to think it's just an ordinary place, but by bringing attention, this too can be a holy place. And so we say together, how awesome is this body? How awesome is this place? How awesome is this journey through time and space? And now I wanted you all to see everyone's eyes, okay? So you can scroll down. Can you see how on the right-hand side, you should be able to see like 5 faces. You can scroll down, good. Marilyn, I'm happy you can see that. Okay, and let's say together, blessing of each other's faces. So many beautiful faces, so many radiant souls shining forth into our hearts. Look at those eyes, those smiles, the hopes, the fears, the yearning, the questioning, the compassion, the love. Take it in, take it all in, the tenderness, the humanity, the blessing of faces arrayed before you. The blessing of faces given and received. And we say together, Amen. So we are going to now look at a prayer that is, I'm going to say, one of the most profound and challenging prayers of the High Holy Day season. So it is called Unatana Tokef, and we're going to look at it in like 3 different ways. We're going to, it's the prayer that begins. It's one of the prayers that I remember growing up at High Holidays in Skokie, Illinois, thinking, this is crazy. I don't believe any of this. I remember that. It starts with, let us proclaim the power of this day. And then it proceeds to go through, the image is that God, the metaphor is God as a shepherd, and we are all human beings that are passing under God's staff, and God is determining who will live and who will die. So number 1, I didn't believe in a God that was like that. And then at the end, there's a piece which we're going to look at that says, but if you turn back to Shuvah, if you do tzedakah, if you give, and if you pray, then you can avert all those things. The second thing I didn't really believe in, okay? So as I learned, and I'm going to share with you, that actually the Hebrew is quite different, which made it, to me, one of the most beloved prayers of this season. So we're going to, the first tier is going to be, that tier is going to sing the very beginning of this prayer. I got to share my screen again. Hang on a sec. Hang on. I'm trying to do things differently than yesterday.
Unatana Tokef, Unatana Tokef, Unatana Tokef, Unatana Tokef, Unatana Tokef, Unatana Tokef, Kiddushat Hayom, Vehunarav Hayom, Kiddushat Hayom, Kihunarav Hayom, Unatana Tokef. tokef unatana tokef.
So let us proclaim, Unatana Tokef, the sacred power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe. On this day, God's rule is exalted. Your throne is established with love, and you sit upon it in truth. We're going to now read. Okay, here's how it's going to work. Okay, here's how it's going to work. We're going to read like we do in a synagogue, antiphonally, which means I'm going to read one line and you're going to read the next. And I have enlisted my husband, Eli, to be the congregation with you. So he's going to be reading it, but you're going to be repeating your lines in your house. Okay? Now, this is a prayer it's a modern translation of the prayer for this particular moment in time. It was written by Rabbi Michael Strassfeld. And it was written by Rabbi Michael Strassfeld. So I'm going to share the screen again. And let me make sure I'm in the right screen. Okay. And the great shofar of redemption is sounded, but it is overwhelmed by the sirens of ambulances wailing day and night. And now you say with Eli, I think I muted Eli. So are you going to unmute Eli?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, good. Go ahead.
A still, small voice cries out, weeping, listen, listen.
And angels of mercy are rushing about in their gowns, gloved and masked as they try to save one life, and another, and another, and another.
And fear and trembling has seized each and every one of us, and we say,
Wait a minute. This is the day of judgment. Behold, we are all confronted by our limitations.
for we count the legions of the afflicted.
While our eyes aren't able to see those hospitalized through our tears and their isolation.
For all who are born pass through this world. As we pass, we write our story, and we hope to make our lives count. And is decided the length of each life and its ending, and all this is written by our deeds.
On Rosh Hashanah, we write our hopes. Rosh Hashanah Yikatevun. And on Yom Kippur, we seal them on our hearts. Uv Yom Som Kippur Yichatemun.
Who shall pass on?
Who shall be as new?
Who shall be alive even in death?
Eli, can you read the next line?
You got to pull it up. I can't see it.
Who shall be overcome? I'll read it. Who shall be overcome by the shadow of death, even in life?
Who is dead? Who is at a dead end?
Who seeks a way to move forward?
Who by fiery anger?
Who by cool indifference?
Who by disparaging words?
Who by emotions out of control?
Who jealously hungers for what others have?
Who has an insatiable thirst for others' approval?
Who has no way to stand up, shaken by the earthquake of injustice?
Who will be sickened by the plague of prejudice?
Who will die strangled, crying, I can't breathe?
Whose path ahead is blocked by stones of inequality?
Who can relax in her own home?
Who has no place to call home?
Who can feel a sense of peace?
Who feels constantly torn in pieces?
Who finds equanimity?
Who is always suffering?
Who lives in the constant uncertainty of poverty?
Who doesn't understand the responsibility of privilege?
Who will be humbled by our common humanity and thereby uplifted?
Yet, returning, connecting, and repairing makes easier what life holds in store, makes easier facing the world, makes easier facing ourselves. Utshuva, utfila, utsadaka, ma'avirin et roa hagzera. So I want it, this is where there is this enormous power in this prayer. When I grew up, the way that this piece was translated is that if you turn back, if you pray, and if you do charity, then the decree won't happen. And I knew that wasn't true, but actually, and I learned this from Rabbi Harold Soloist, the Hebrew word is ma'avirin, which used to be translated, which was unfortunately translated as will cancel. That's what it was, cancel the decree. But actually, ma'avirin means to cross over, to cross over, to pass over, to pass through. And so what the prayer is really saying is that we do not control. This is what I think is true. We don't control who's going to live. We don't control who's going to die. We don't control who's going to get sick. We don't control who's going to suffer. We don't control those things often about ourselves. But what we do control is that by turning back to who we are supposed to be, by reflecting and praying, meditating, finding spaces of connecting with whatever you call the divine. And tzedakah, in the largest sense, is loving kindness to ourselves and to each other. By engaging in those actions, can temper what happens with us. That basically was a sermon of the day. And now Josh is going to play by, I should call him Cantor, Leonard Cohen, may he rest in peace, his rendition, a piece of his rendition of this prayer.
And who by a fire, who by a water, who in the sunshine, who in the nighttime, who by high ordeal, who by common trial, who in your merry, merry month of May, who by very slow decay, and who shall I say is calling? And who in her lonely steps, who by barbiturate, who in these realms of love, who by something blind, who by avalanche, who louder? Who for his greed? Who for his hunger? And who shall I say is calling? Who by brave ascent? Who by accident? Who in solitude? Who in this mirror? Who by his native command? Who by his own hand? Who in mortal chains? Who in power? And who shall I say is calling?
Viktor Frankl, who survived Auschwitz, and I believe he was in 3 different concentration camps. Here's what he wrote that I think is so appropriate for this prayer. One day, a few days after liberation, I walked through the country past flowering meadows for miles and miles toward the market town near the camp. Larks rose to the sky and I could hear their joyous song. There was no one to be seen for miles around. There was nothing but the wide earth and sky and the lark's jubilation and the freedom of space. I stopped, looked around and up to the sky, and then I went down on my knees. At that moment, there was very little I knew of myself or of the world. I had but one sentence in mind, always the same, and this is from Psalms. I called to the Lord from my narrow prison, and God answered me in the freedom of space. How long I knelt there and repeated this sentence, memory can no longer recall, but I know that on that day, in that hour, my new life started. Step for step, I progressed until I again became a human being. I cannot tell you how much I think about about Viktor Frankl. I think about him all the time. As I said last night, we have been through so much. Our tender hearts are hurting, even as we come to this joyous day. We lost a great person last night, which I'm going to say something about Ruth Bader Ginsburg when we get to Kaddish. And we have really suffered a lot. 200, I believe today, or maybe it was last night, we passed 200,000 deaths, 200,000 souls, meaning every single one of the people that has passed, and those are the people that we know of. I think the death count is higher. Every single one of those people had a story, had a world. So it was not just 200 people, it was 200,000 people, it was 200,000 stories and worlds. And I think that every single day, when I think about how do we proceed with such pain, I think about Viktor Frankl. I do. I think about Anne Frank. And I think about if Anne Frank was able to say in the midst of her isolation, I think that people are really good at heart. And if Viktor Frankl was able to survive Auschwitz and come out and create and come out of that experience, not bitter, but sharing the moments of kindness, then I could too. So that's Unatana Tokef, is how are we going to proceed no matter what happens, no matter who lives and who dies? How are we going to proceed? I'm going to now lead you in a meditation. And the meditation is going to end with the Shema. And I want to start this meditation by something that I learned from Rabbi Cantor Angela Buckdahl. And I don't know if you've heard of this Yiddish word called Krex. It's C-R-E-C-H. You have, Marilyn said she's heard of it. Krex. It is a sigh. It is a sigh that is, it's like, yeah, Marilyn, like, it's like, oh my God, it's that kind of sigh. Like, how long? It's that kind of sigh. It's not a complaint. It's different than kvetching, that Yiddish word, which is complaining, right? Whining and complaining. It is the feeling, the deep feeling of, whoa, you know, it's that kind of feeling. And so we're going to begin this meditation. And since you're all in your own homes, no one is going to hear how you do it. But I want to begin this meditation by everyone just close your eyes. It's kind of like Oy Vey Izmir. It's kind of like that, only it's not as really playful as that. It is the acknowledgement of profound sorrow when you have no words and all you can do is sigh. So to kind of honor that space in all of us for all that we have experienced. So close your eyes, get comfortable. And you're going to take a really deep breath in. And then when you let it out with an audible sigh. Like, so do 3 of those at your own pace. And then find a space, find a place in the center of your being, with your eyes closed. This core of strength that you might be able to be in touch with it, you might not. And if you're not in touch with it, see if you can pray or wish or bless yourself to find that core of strength again in the center. And as you breathe, allow that core of strength and resilience of becoming to grow a little bit more with every breath. And when you get distracted, which you will, you just come right back, just do teshuvah return back to that core of strength that you have. Could be your ability to learn, your openness, your kindness, your generosity. Just call that up in the center. And then in your mind's eye, begin to look out over the year ahead. And just imagine that you are going to operate from that core of strength, that core of goodness and kindness and justice. And what you create and what you build this upcoming year can be from that deep source within. I'm going to read you with your eyes closed this beautiful piece from Adrienne Rich. What would it mean to live in a city whose people were changing each other's despair into hope? You yourself must change it. What would it feel like to know your country was changing? You yourself must change it. Though your life felt arduous, new and unmapped and strange, what would it mean to stand on the first page of the end of despair? So with your eyes closed, you can recite the Shema along with me, or if you want to look at the words of the Shema, you can open your eyes and look at the screen. And we will do one word, one breath, and Ter is going to lead us.
Shama Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Hear, O God wrestlers, which is what Israel really means, those who wrestle with God. The nameless one is our God. Oneness is only oneness. Through time and space, your oneness shines forever. I put the picture of the earth up on this slide because, for me, reciting the Shema reminds me that all is one, that we are one, that all is one. It says, Shema Yisrael, listen, God wrestlers. God is one, Echad. God is one. And to me, personally, the symbol of our oneness is the picture that we got for the first time of the earth from space, which showed that we are all connected. There are, as Rusty Schweikert, the astronaut, says, from the perspective of space, there are no frames, there are no boundaries, there are no countries. We live on this one planet. And so when I say the Shema, I call the image up of the earth from space, because it reminds me that even though I operate most of the time in the world of separation, I'm different, you're different, they're this, they're that, right? That in truth, from the largest possible perspective, we are one. We are all connected. Our separations are an illusion. We're going to now move into Avinu Malkeinu. And I'm going to start with this poem by Ruth Brin. When men were children, they thought of God as a father. When men were slaves, they thought of God as a master. When men were subjects, they thought of God as a king. But I am a woman, not a slave, not a subject, not a child who longs for God as father or mother. I might imagine God as teacher or friend, but those images like king, master, father, or mother are too small for me now. God is the force of motion and light in the universe. God is the strength of life on our planet. God is the power moving us to do good. God is the source of love springing up in us. God is far beyond what we can comprehend. Chair. Avinu Malkeinu, and whatever words you use to substitute for our Father, our King, is fine.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu, Ve'alo Aleinu, V'tapeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chale Dever, B'cherev Ra'av Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chale Kol Tzar U'mastim Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu,
So let's read. I'll read the first line and you read the next line. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our prayer. Mikorenu Eloheinu, we have sinned before you. Our source, our God, have mercy on us and on our children. Imenu, our mother, rid us of sickness, swords, hunger, destruction, fire, hurricanes, storms, plagues. Avinu, our creator, rid us of persecution. Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of a good life. Avinu Malkeinu, renew us for a good year. Avinu Malkeinu, be gracious, answer us, for we have no deeds within us. Treat us generously and with kindness, and be our help. And so now we moved to, well, you know, before we do, just to take a breath, take a deep breath as a powerful prayer. And I wanted to share that Ruth Brim poem with you because really what she ends up saying is that the image of the all we have are these different metaphors of God, of the divine, of oneness, of holiness. We just have metaphors, and all those metaphors do, the different languages, point us to an experience. And so we call out to whatever that experience is to be connected. And any name, any one name, whether it's king or queen or creator, any one name limits what that divinity is. So we're now going to hear the shofar, and what I encourage you to do, because, and I forgot to say this, after our formal service, non-traditional service this morning, we're going to have a half hour of discussion, and I hope that you will stay. And one of the things I'm going to be asking you is about this shofar, because the shofar calls us to wake up, to open our eyes, to see, to hear. And so I'm going to invite you to put your hand on your heart and tune in and close your eyes and listen to the sound of the shofar. What does it awaken within you? What does it stir? Tekiah, Shevarim, Trua, Tekiah Gedolah. Wow, Hayom Harat Olam, Hayom Ya'amid B'mishpat Kol Yitzurei Olamim. Today, the universe is born. Today is pregnant with possibilities. Chair, that was amazing. Your Tekiah Gedolah is, I felt it in my kishkis. It was amazing. My colleague, Rabbi Lisa Edwards, talks about the sound of the shofar being the sound of mothers giving birth. The wailing, the different sounds of birthing. And so when we say Hayom Harat Olam, meaning today is the beginning, today the world was born, but it's also today we are new creations. We are recreated today. And it reminds us that creation is not always smooth and easy. With anyone who has given birth naturally knows that. There is struggle and there is pain in creation. Now we do a healing prayer for all of those in our lives who are in need of healing. And so if you could, open up your chat if you would like to, and to call up all of the names so we can include them in our prayers, the people who you are thinking of who are in need of healing, healing of body, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, addiction, dementia, heartache. So put the names in the chat. And please put yourself in the chat if you are in need of healing. So many names. I will add all of the children who are still in detention centers, separated from their families, victims of gun violence, and the earth itself. So Tyr's gonna lead us in Misha Barak, the one who blessed our ancestors, by Debbie Friedman.
Makor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu, makor habracha leavotenu. Bless the
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. You know, we all here stand on the shoulder, on the shoulders of people who came before, of all of us. All of us stand on the shoulders, whether or not they were people in our family or whether they were people that just stepped in to be parents to us in some way or teachers to us. And I'm excited to share this piece by, the song Le Dor Vador, From Generation to Generation. It is written by and sung by Josh Nelson, and it is being calligraphied by our friend Joanne Fink. So Josh, can you put that up now?
We are gifts and we are blessings. We are His story in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. The Dor Vador Nagid Goleva. The Dor Vador, we protect this chain. From generation to generation, the Dor Vador, these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our hearts, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part. We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way, and the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. The Dor Vador Nagid God Lecha. Dor Vador, we protect this chain. From generation to generation, the Dor Vador, these lips will praise your name.
How beautiful was that? So I'm going to turn this over. Right, I know we're running a little bit late, which I hope is okay with you. Thank you, Marilyn, for the thumbs up. So we're running just a little bit late. I want to turn over. It would not be a program or a gathering or a service without announcements. And so Marianne is I'm going to turn this over to Marianne for just a few words, okay? And then we will conclude our time together with Kaddish, and I have a few words to say about Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Well, of course, we have to have some announcements. So if you really enjoy this kind of service, we're so hoping that you'll join us back for the unservice or the not quite a service, but I know that this has really spiritually touched my heart, and it would really be terrific to have you join us for Yom Kippur. That'll be next Sunday. We'll begin at 5. And then the following day on Yom Kippur during the day, we'll start at 11:30. And I just want to let you know that there's this really meaningful Yizkor service planned, and that you should bring your loved ones together with you in your hearts. So after the holidays, if you like this sort of thing and this kind of worship, I'm going to invite you to join us at Hineni. Hineni is Rabbi Jill's program. It stands for Here I Am. And it's a wonderful spiritual community that Rabbi leads 2 times a month. And we also gather together on Friday afternoons to welcome in Shabbat with meditation, poetry, and singing. Besides the lovely people who are part of our group, Jill also arranges interviews with amazing Jewish thinkers from around the world. I have learned so much. It's like getting a hug in these days when we can't gather together. We support each other when we're being mindful, to be mindful in our day-to-day lives. And it feels really good to be part of this kind of a group. So if you need an oasis to decompress, this could be your spiritual home too, to refresh and renew. I want to go on to, again, it wouldn't be the high holidays if we didn't have an appeal from the Bima. The joke about it is it doesn't quite work the same way on Zoom that it does, but our hearts are in the right place. So if you are able to support our Path with Heart community, these welcoming spiritual experiences really open our heart and connect us out there to others in the Jewish community and to seekers. So your donations support Rabbi Jill's work and her social justice projects. So you'll feel really proud that you're making a real difference with your donations. We'll hope to see you back next week for Yom Kippur, both services. Thank you.
Thanks, Marianne. Thank you. So a poem before Kaddish by my colleague, Rabbi Zoe Klein. If an angel of mercy were to come to us this afternoon and offer to take away all of our grief forever and ever, with the one condition that she would also take away all memory of the one over whom we feel grief, who among us would surrender our memories? If grief is the price we pay for love, then we must pay it. Grieving is always about love, and thank God for love. The bad news is that we will never get over it. But the good news too, is that we will never get over it. We don't want to get over it. We will rebuild our lives with you as our foundation. Everything we do will be built up from your love. We won't get over you. We will build upon you. So if you are thinking of someone today who has passed on, if it's a yard site, or you're in the first year of mourning for a parent, please put their names in the chat. And see all the names of the shoulders that we stand on, the 200,000 plus people that we've lost. All over the world, 200,000. Thank you for saying that. It's 200,000 in plus in our country. There's so many more in the world. Yes. So I want to say something about Ruth Bader Ginsburg that we lost last night. And probably you, like myself, were just praying and hoping that she would not succumb to the cancer. But again, we are not in control. I learned, actually, I think I knew this, but my rabbinic colleagues reminded me of the source of this tradition. It's actually from the Talmud, which says that a person who dies on the eve of Rosh Hashanah is righteous, is the most righteous. And the discussion in the Talmud kind of goes like this, that God has decided that it's her time to die this past year. So not the new year that we started today, that we started last night. She died before. So God decided that last year was the time that she was to die. And God wanted to hold on to her until the last possible moment, meaning for her to be here with us to the last possible moment. It's such a beautiful tradition, teaching. I want to mention also that in her office, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's Judaism was so important to her that in her office, in the Supreme Court, or wherever she had her judge's office, there was the line from Deuteronomy, the verse from Deuteronomy that says, Tzedek, tzedek, tir dof, meaning justice, justice shall she pursue. Shall she pursue. I'm unraveling here, okay? Tzedek, tzedek, tir dof. Justice, justice shall. It's actually, that's why I messed it up, because it's shall he pursue, but it's harder with shall she pursue. Anyway, justice, justice shall, that she pursued, sums up her entire life and her justice work that we now will carry on. So I'm going to share the screen and hold all of the names in our hearts. If those, please rise if it's your custom. Say the Mornish Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash me Rabbi, v'almad divrach yirte, v'yamich malchute, v'chayachon, v'yamachon, v'chayed chol beit Yisrael, ba'alah, v'zman kariv, v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam almei almaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yiraman v'yinaseh. V'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit alel shmei kudusha v'yichu. La'ela mikol berkata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiram v'yama v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama Rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mrama, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'akol Yisrael ve'akol yoshvei tevel, v'imru. Amen. Amen. May the one who makes peace on high make peace for us and for all God wrestlers, for all Israel, and for all who dwell on earth. And let us say together, Amen. Amen. So at this, I don't know, I didn't warn you. I didn't warn you, and I am sorry that I didn't warn you about the apples and honey, okay? So I don't know if you have apples and honey, but I'm gonna do it for all of you. Last night, who is here that had the round challah? I don't know if you brought it again, if you made another. I know you were here this morning. Anyway, okay, so this is a tradition. Eli cut up the apples. We have the honey. Just like real life, right? And we say, for a year of sweetness, we bless apples and honey. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri ha'etz. Blessed are you. Eli, you have to come in here and take this. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of all creation, creator of the fruit of the tree. Okay. There you go. And we're going to end with, but listen, those of you that can stay, please stay, because we're going to have a wonderful small group discussion. Eli just gave apples and honey to Bo. So, Ter.
Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, va'imru, va'imru, amen. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. You're muted, Jill.
Okay.
You're still muted.
Before, I think that is Josh muting me on purpose, right? And I'm not done. I'm not done. So before we move into our next piece, I want to, number one, thank Ter Lieberstein for being such a beautiful, wonderful human being and our cantor for the High Holy Days. I also want to thank Josh and Jim and Marianne and Lionel, our team that helped make this happen. I want to thank my husband, Eli. He's also part of the team. And this morning, yesterday he ironed my talit, and today he made apples and honey and sets everything up. So I just want to thank you so much. So I also want to thank all of you who are do High Holidays as a regular, on the regular, or those of you who are new to the High Holy Days. Thank you so much for coming and being part of our holy gathering. I hope that you will join us next Sunday for Yom Kippur. It will be a similar service like this, and also Yom Kippur Erev Kol Nidre, and also for Yom Kippur Day. I hope to see you then, and I would love to hear your feedback, and so you can write me. You all have my emails. I have recorded the services, so if you're interested in doing them again, I will send them out.